Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is ALEYA AFRINA binti Muhammad Farid, and today I will be presenting a case analysis titled Institute of Technology PETRONAS Sdn Bhd University Technology PETRONAS versus AMIRUL FAIRUZ bin AHMAD 2020 MLJU 40420. This presentation is prepared for INC 500, which is Industrial Relations, Regulations, and Cybersecurity under Professor Madya Dr. Haji Muhammad Shanawi. This case is important because it highlights how concepts like honesty, integrity, misconduct, and employer discretions are treated under Malaysian industrial relations law. To begin, let me summarize the facts of the case. Amirul Fairuz, a staff member at UTP, submitted a dental claim under his own name, even though the treatment was actually for his wife. This went against the Petronas ITPSB Code of Conduct, particularly rules relating to fraud and dishonesty. Two charges were brought forward. The first one is submitting a fraudulent or dishonest claim, and the second one asking the clinic to issue the receipt under his name. During the domestic inquiry, the second charge was dismissed. The inquiry panel concluded that it was not a fraud, but it was still an entitled claim, and recommended only a reminder or penalty, not dismissal. Despite this, UTP decided to terminate Amirul, stating that his action damaged the trust and integrity required from employees. The Industrial Court and the High Court later ruled in favor of Amirul, stating that the dismissal had no just cause because both courts relied heavily on the domestic inquiry findings. UTP then appealed to the Court of Appeal. So this case raises several legal issues. The first one is whether misconduct was proven. The court needed to decide whether Amirul's action was actually amounted to misconduct when all evidence was considered, not just the domestic inquiry notes. The second one, fraud versus dishonesty. A key question was whether the employer must prove both or whether dishonesty alone is enough to justify dismissal. The third one, just cause for dismissal. The court had to evaluate whether termination was appropriate, especially in a workplace where integrity is essential. The fourth one, reliance on the domestic inquiry. Was the industrial court wrong for depending too much on the domestic inquiry findings without conducting a de novo hearing? And the last one is employer's discretion. Does an employer have the right to impose a heavier punishment than the domestic inquiry recommended? To proceed, the Court of Appeal allowed UTP's appeal and overturned the decisions of the Industrial Court and High Court. So the court held that dishonest conduct was proven. Amirul knowingly submitted a claim he was not entitled to. Then fraud and dishonesty are separate. The employer does not need to prove fraud if dishonesty is already clearly established. The third one is dismissal was justified. Integrity and trust are fundamental in an educational institution. Once trust is broken, the employer has no grounds for termination. Therefore, the dismissal was ruled as having just cause and excuse. From my analysis, in analyzing the Court of Appeal's decision, several important principles emerged. So, under Section 20 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967, the industrial court must conduct an independent review of all evidence. This is known as a de novo hearing. Domestic inquiry notes cannot be the sole basic basis for a decision. They must be supported by full evidence during trial. Dishonesty is considered a serious breach of trust, and trust is an essential element in employment relationships. Employers retain the discretion to impose dismissal when trust has been compromised, even if the domestic inquiry suggested a lighter punishment. So this case reinforces that dishonesty, even in one incident, can justify dismissal because it damages the foundation of the trust they have built. So, for my critique, for me, this case has several strengths. So the first one is it clarifies the industrial court's duty to evaluate all evidence independently. Then it emphasizes the importance of integrity in professional environments. The third one is it establishes that dishonesty alone is sufficient for dismissal. It also strengthens employers' rights to act when trust is broken. And then for the witnesses, I discovered, for me, Amirul's explanation that he forgot the claim after 3 months was not properly considered. The dismissal may seem harsh because it was his first offense, and then it reduces the significance of domestic inquiry recommendations. And then employees also may now feel afraid of making genuine mistakes because of this harsh punishment. And finally, here are the references I use for this case analysis. These references support my arguments and it strengthens the legal context of the presentation. I included these references because they directly relate to issues of dishonesty, misconduct, employer discretion, and dismissal, which are central elements in my case. So, to conclude, this case illustrates how the Malaysian legal system balances employee rights and employer discretion. It highlights that integrity and honesty are essential, and when these values are compromised, employers have the right to take firm action. At the same time, the case reminds us of the importance of fair procedures and the role of the court in ensuring justice. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.